Hey, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my craft room. Today is my Heffy Doodle design team project that I'm sharing with you. It's inspired from this month's Radiant Rainbow Challenge and my Go Wild frame. We're just going to be doing some die cutting and ink blending to create this fun rainbow shaker card. I have 7 colors here, but I do end up grabbing an 8th color because it wasn't even and I really wanted my colors to look even. And I die cut a frame from the Go Wild frame die set. And I'm starting my ink blending with my lightest color, which is yellow, just adding some color right there in one of the corners. And then I will move on to orange. And from here, I'm going to jump from color to color. So next is red, and then I will move into green, going back the other way on the other side of the yellow, a lighter blue, and then I'm going to do a darker indigo colored blue, and then purple. And then here is where I went and grabbed some pink just to fill in that little spot. I really liked having an even look to all the colors. I think 8 colors overall was better. And fun fact, if you didn't know, those are the actual original colors of the pride flag. So now that all of my ink blending is done, I even went back and just tried to really blend in between the 2 colors really well. I have a second frame, so you can see they line up perfectly here, but I am going to turn it over 180 degrees, and that way it will look like a more fuller jungle out on my shaker card. I hope that made sense, having 2 different layers and lots of fullness in our leaves. So now I need to grab a piece of acetate to create my shaker, and I'm going to use my white frame to create my shaker, and I will glue on my rainbow frame later. So I'm grabbing some double-sided adhesive and adding that to all 4 sides on the back side of my white die cut frame. I'm using 1/8 of an inch here, but that's just because I cut my acetate to be 1/4 inch shorter than an A2 size, so it is 4 by 5 1/4, and that way I wouldn't have to worry about lining it up perfectly behind my A2 frame. So I've peeled off all of the release paper from my adhesive, and then I'm going to add my acetate. As you can see, it lines up nicely behind my window, and I have the front of my shaker. So now that the front is done, let's work on the background. I'm going to grab my little make art station, and now that it's clean, and I'm going to take some black cardstock this time. You could use Oreo Crunch from your Heffy Doodle cardstock pack, and I'm using some Heffy Doodle tape to adhere it down to my confetti heart stencil, and then I'm going to add that same rainbow color. So this time I'm going to start with pink in the corner, and then I will move on to red, and I will continue all the way down to the bottom right corner with purple. I didn't have quite enough room, so I skipped over my darker blue, and it doesn't really matter because it's just a fun way to add some color onto some black cardstock. Here you can see how beautiful those little hearts are, but I wanted to add some shine, so I'm grabbing some liquid shine. This is called liquid pixie dust. I added some water, and I'm using a fine paintbrush to just splatter that all over my background. Here you can see that color and that shine. I'm going to set it aside to dry, but I thought since I have some extra liquid pixie dust, I would also splatter some onto my rainbow frame. So now let me clean up my station, and I'm going to set my frame aside to dry as well. Now we're going to continue on by die cutting our sentiment. So I took the Go Wild, and I'm die cutting it out of that same cardstock as my frames, so that way I could just use up some of my scraps. And then I decided to cut the shadow die out of some pearlescent vellum because I thought it matched really well with that liquid pixie dust, and it's just another element of shine to the card. To glue these together, I'm going to get out my glue-bert, and I'm going to add glue behind my wild sentiment first, and then I will glue this down onto my shadow, lining it up so it looks nice and even around the bubble cut of the word. I'll repeat this same process with the rest of my letters. I will show you that I used a reversible tweezers to hold my letters, these smaller letters, in place while I add glue, and then I will use my tweezers again to help me put it in place onto the shadow die cut. So once all of those letters are done, I'm going to add the little dot underneath my exclamation point and the tittle of the eye. So for that, I'm just using a jewel picker to help me put that in the right spot and then clean up any excess glue. I'm going to grab a large clear block and set it on top to add some pressure while it dries. Now that my background is dry, my front of my card is dry, and my shaker is ready to get put together. So again, I'm just going to work with my white frame as it has the acetate and my background. I'm grabbing some of my Heffy Doodle foam strips and I'm going to add them along all four sides of my white frame with the acetate, and this is going to keep all of our shaker bits inside. So make sure when you're adding that foam tape that everything is nice and snug and there's no way for your sequins or anything else you're placing inside of your shaker for them to escape. So I'm grabbing this really fun rainbow blend of sequins and different clay bits, just really fun stuff in my stash, as well as some clear seed beads to help make sure everything moves really smoothly and of course adds more of that fun shaker sound when you shake your card. I'm just making sure everything is as flat as possible, and then I'm going to grab my background and glue that just behind my shaker. So I'm really pressing down, making sure that Heffy Doodle foam tape is nice and secure to my white frame as well as the black cardstock. So now that that's all put together, I can add my colorful frame. So again, adding glue on all four sides of my frame and then in some random spots on the leaves to make sure that they are nice and secure. Now I can glue my frame to the top, making sure that I have it again twisted 180 degrees so that way there is overlap and you can see some of those white leaves poking out from behind the rainbow. Now I'm just going to do the same thing, adding some glue behind my letters on the vellum and then adhering it to the center of my card. So trying to get it to fit nicely inside that open window. And now let's take a look at this fun shaker. I'm going to slow myself down so you can see how beautiful it is. I love the little hearts popping in off of the black cardstock and then that fun vibrant sequins that match our fun and vibrant frame. Final step is to get it onto a card base. So I have added some nice strong adhesive to my card base, but I want to make sure I get my frame centered since it is super sticky glue. So I'm going to use my MISTI. I'm going to tuck my card base into the corner and then tuck my frame or my shaker part on into the corner as well and then press down to secure it to the card base. Here is a final look at our shaker card. I just love all of these bright colorful elements from the frame to the sparkle blends to the stenciled background. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!